Hey, what's up you guys? It's your host, Torie, and I am back with a whole new podcast episode. Today's podcast episode is fitting for my life update because we are going to be talking about how to practice self-care on a budget. I know I talked about in a previous episode how I like to be a little bit bougier, like I like to go get my nails done, use expensive products and things like that, but that's not always the case. What we want to do and what we do are two different things. So on the college budget that I was on for 5 years, and still on that whole I don't know what I'm doing with my life yet budget, I am still currently practicing a little bit more of a minimized, affordable, pretty much free version of self-care. So I wanted to talk to you guys about some ideas of what you can do to practice self-care that you may not have thought of, or also give you some products that I use that really have taken my self-care to the next level that are not expensive. So yeah, stick around if you want to hear about that. I'm really excited. We have some teeth whitening, some face wash, and also candles. So yeah, before we jump into that though, like I mentioned, life updates, we gotta get into it. Life has really just been life in me lately, guys. Like, it's gotten me good. Especially today. So I had my physical this morning and I had to get blood work done, which I was like, it's fine. Little did I know slash think about, I literally only had espresso before I went. What is that gonna help me with when they literally are taking blood out of my body? Nothing. I was on the verge of passing out. So then I went to the pharmacy where they told me it would be 15 to 20 minutes until my prescription is done, and it ended up being 2 hours. So that was excellent, and I know they work hard, so I'm not complaining, but you know, it also really just downed my day a little bit. So I get home and Luna must have a personal vendetta against me because today hasn't just been one for the books. It's probably been his worst day since we got him almost 2 years ago. He has just really put the icing on the cake today. So he's currently outside with Evie and I'm like facing the living room window watching them, or the backyard window watching them. So that's what the change of scenery is about. That's also why I look like things are rough, and that's also why I sound like things are rough, because things are rough. But that does not mean I forgot about you guys, or I'm gonna be missing you guys, or skipping a week. I am here, and while this episode may not be as long, it might be, but it might not be as long as the rest of my episodes because I didn't put as much preparation into it. We're still gonna see how long it is. We're still gonna talk about it, and we're gonna dive into self-care because whew, your girl needs some after the day she's had. So with that being said, let's go ahead and jump on into today's topic. So first, let's go ahead and talk about the products that I am gonna recommend for you guys. So the first product is my holy grail, and also I'm gonna link all of these below, but my holy grail, I've tried expensive products. I've literally tried probably every product on the market in my 23 years, and the best product for just washing your face twice a day is the Aveeno Daily Scrub. So I will link it down below so you know exactly which product I'm talking about, but it's pretty inexpensive and it's literally probably the best out of all of the acne things I've tried. Like I said, it just really gets rid of my acne, whereas the rest have not. So definitely the best product out there and super inexpensive. The next product is kind of super shocking, super random, but Five Below has this teeth whitener, and I don't know if it's gonna have a link, but if it does, I would definitely link it. But it is like life-changing. I started using it during my party phase last year when I was like going out and wanted to look cute like 100% of the time, and I would just use it probably like 3 times a week. And it's literally like a pen. You just put it on your teeth and you don't eat for 30 minutes, and it like changed my life. I've used Crest teeth whitening strips. I've used the Crest toothbrush or the toothpaste where it's like you put one on and then put the other on, but those products have nothing on this one. It actually is like amazing, so highly recommend that. And the last product that I have found is a pretty decent sized candle, and they're like $5 to $7, and they have ones for pets and they have ones for smoke odor, but either one I've found works pretty much the same, and it just minimizes any smell you have in your house and smells so good. They have so many different smells. I'm sure they have whatever smell you like to have going on in your house, but I will link my favorites. I think there's like 1 or 2 that I'm like obsessed with because their fall ones are my favorite, but I can't get them year round, sadly. So I've tried like their French vanilla and a couple others, and I really like them. So I'll link like my favorite fall one and then my favorite non-favorite, or not favorite non-fall. But either way, they are both pretty good candles. Like they smell probably stronger and like last longer than any Bath and Body Works candle or any other candle I've used. And like the burn time is insane. It lasts for way longer than any other candle I've used, so definitely recommend that. So for things that you can do to practice self-care that are free, some of these are things that I'm just gonna mention like generally, and some of these are things that I thought of that would be really good ideas. So an example of a really good idea is if you don't have Netflix, Disney Plus, Hulu, all of those, definitely utilize the library. Whether you're reading or whether you want a movie, the library has it all. And I'm not sure, some libraries have a digital selection where you can just digital download it, and some you have to get a CD or a DVD, but DVD players are pretty inexpensive, and like I said, they're free. You just have to return them. So they have a pretty wide range. Like if you're into Halloween Town and Mostly Ghostly and all of those faves for this time of year, most libraries have them. So that is one thing that I mentioned. I know a lot of people practice self-care by like binging Netflix, and while I don't recommend sitting down for 8 hours, I definitely think that watching a movie at night, or you know, 1 or 2 episodes here and there, is definitely good, and it helps your mental state in small doses. So I just wanted to put that out there. So the next thing is to go outside. I know for me, I love nature, but I am not a fan of cold weather. I like cold weather for like 10 minutes and then I'm good, but I could sit outside all day when it's nice out. So I just want to say that if you're in a place where you have 4 seasons, really cherishing that weather while it's here, like the warmer weather, the fall weather, and just spending time outside. It's free and you don't have to worry about like the cold weather. You don't have to pay a fee, or I hope you don't have to pay a fee to go outside. It's literally outside. And it's really good for you. It's just, I just can't describe the feeling of being outside. And part of that's because I'm exhausted, and part of that's because it's the time of my life every time I step outside. But like I mentioned, it's free, and there's so much you can do. Like you can do other hobbies outside. I was literally crocheting outside earlier. I decided I wanted to learn how to crochet, so in my 2-hour time period, there's a Michael's in the same complex as Kroger. I literally went and got all the things you need to know, or you need to like start crocheting, and I just sat outside and crocheted for like 2 hours while the dogs just played, because I wanted to try a new hobby. I've been reading, but that wasn't scratching the itch, so I decided to switch over. You can do anything outside you can just enjoy, which we'll get into with my next topic, or you can do something. You can go for a run, you can work out, which working out is a really good form of self-care. I know that some people might not be in the safest area to just like go do things outside, like, but if you can and you're in a safe neighborhood and you want to just walk your dogs, go for a run, things like that, it really changes your mood, not just because you're outside, but because you're working out. So a good form of self-care, if you can learn to love it, if you aren't already a fan of either exercising or the outdoors. So the next thing that I kind of mentioned briefly is meditation, as well as sitting in silence. So this is something that people might not be a fan of at first, but learn to love. Like the first few times you do it, you're like, am I doing this right? I'm thinking about dinner. I don't really get this. But then like something clicks after the first like 2 or 3 times, and it's amazing, I promise. If you aren't spiritual and you don't want to meditate, just sitting in silence and letting things just go. Like I like to sit outside and just listen to the sounds going on, whether that's birds or the leaves or the bus driving by. Like there's a lot going on, and just thinking or just listening to it can kind of calm your thoughts, and it's a really good calming practice I found I really enjoy, especially when I'm more anxious, and it's like a self-soothing thing that I can do. So next is pick up a new hobby, preferably one that's not on your phone, but it's okay if it's on your phone. Like I mentioned with crocheting, it's challenging, but it's not too challenging to the point that I get frustrated or stressed out. So definitely find something that you love, whether that's resin. I've been doing resin lately as well. I've been making coasters. Not my favorite thing. I want to get some new molds, but it's still fun, and it was a good way to learn how to do it. There's also art, writing, graphic design is fun. I know I mentioned like not being on electronics if possible, because blue screens can really affect your mental health, but if you are that kind of gal and you want to just hop on Procreate and make some designs, you do you. I know I did that last year. I really got into like graphic design, so no judgment here. But there's so many hobbies you can do, learning to cook, but yeah, I'll really leave that up to you. Most of these are free or very inexpensive. It was like $10 for all of my crocheting stuff, and while I only got one thing of yarn, they were on clearance, so I could have gotten more. They were all like $2 for one ball or something. The expensive part is like the hook, but once you get that, like, you can really just go out and it's pretty inexpensive, so I love that. The next thing I wanted to talk about is being more intentional with your day-to-day decisions to keep in mind your self-care or how you're going to feel about it in the long run. An example of that is buying groceries. I know some groceries are going to be more expensive because they're healthier. However, some are pretty inexpensive. Like vegetables lately have been pretty inexpensive. And at the rate that milk is right now, hopefully the cost of substitute milk does not rise higher than that, because regular like 2% milk was at like $6 the other day, and that hurts. That just hurts. But things like that, like when you go to the grocery store, being mindful of what you're eating and putting in your body and if it's going to nourish you, and then also being mindful of who's in your life and if they're adding value or if they're just like a toxic addition that you really aren't the biggest fan of. Being mindful of if what you're doing every day really brings joy to what your calling in life is or what you're passionate about. Things like that are much larger forms of self-care that are going to completely transform your mindset on life. That's another thing, is just like your mindset from day to day and having a positive outlook on life. Like, hey, today might not be the best day, but you know, you need those bad days to remember what your good days feel like. Things like that. And I'm not saying don't let yourself feel those bad days. You're allowed to be sad and you're allowed to feel those emotions. Please don't bottle them up. But also just having a positive outlook can just help you so much. I did the whole episode on abundance mindset, which is basically just having a positive mindset, and the law of attraction in a previous episode if you want to check that out. But going along with being intentional with your decisions is also making sure your environment is clean, or just controlling the environment you have. Like I mentioned, if there's people you feel like aren't a good addition or they're bringing you ultimately like too much stress, you can just talk to them, try and fix it, mitigate the situation. Or if you feel like you need to just let them go, let them go. Keeping a clean environment is like key for me to having a good life. Like if my environment is gross, I am sad, I am unable to do anything, I'm super unmotivated. And I don't know if it's my ADHD being like, wow, I need to clean this, or if it's something else. But cleaning your environment, like, you think it's not going to change your life, but it changes your life. You just feel put together. But something else I mentioned that is free, or I'm about to mention, is setting boundaries, which is going along with if someone doesn't really bring you joy, like talking to them about it, or setting boundaries in the first place and saying, hey, on these nights I'm not going out, these are my self-care nights. Whatever you feel serves you best and what you need to set boundaries for, I encourage you to do it. No doesn't mean that you're a bad person. Like, telling someone no doesn't mean you're a bad person. Telling someone you can't do it this time does not mean that you're not helpful, or, you know, any of those things. But setting boundaries for whatever you need, whether that's with a boyfriend, a best friend, family members. I mean, I moved an hour and a half away from my family members, and that was kind of my way of setting a boundary, because I love them, but I also don't want to live close enough that they can just walk into my house at any time. So, you know, set boundaries where you need to, and don't be afraid to say, hey, I'm practicing a form of self-care, or hey, I've been really working on my mental health, and frame it like there's nothing wrong with them, there's nothing wrong with you. Boundaries are a healthy part of life, and I wish that we more commonly use them, you know, like I wish we utilize them more. Next is one thing that is really important to me because I have been on the other side of it and it's not fun. Make sure you're preventing burnout before it happens, and, you know, kind of quit while you're ahead. I am at a point in my life where I am so burnt out from college, from life, from everything, and it just got to the point where I was just like, I can't function anymore. And now I'm kind of just like picking up the pieces, and it's not a good place to be at, guys. Like, I promise you, I could write a book on how not fun this is, and how I just wish that I would have practiced self-care more before, and whether that's eating healthier, whether that's giving myself breaks in the day, whether that's not thinking that I had to accomplish everything that I did at the age that I did, or, you know, whether that's taking more time for friends and hanging out with friends other than just spending all my nights studying and working and doing all the things that I did. So however you feel that you best prevent burnout, usually that's in the form of self-care, taking a couple days in between and not going so hard, giving yourself boundaries. Like, say that you work at home or you're in school, like setting a specific time that you're not going to work or do anything after. If you hear that, my washer is going in the other room, so it just got really loud for no reason. It's fine. But things like that, burnout is just no joke, and it's really hard to come back from. And I really encourage you to just think about it being a possibility and kind of treating it and being proactive about it before it actually happens. But that's pretty much everything I have on my list. Like I mentioned, it's not as long or as crazy as I usually would do. If you want me to do a part 2 of this, definitely either comment below or comment on my Instagram. I love you guys so much. Please leave a rating, a review, follow or subscribe, like if you're on YouTube. It really helps my channel, or not just my channel, but my episode and my podcast more than you know. I would love to be able to do this all the time, and so if you guys give me that support and let me know what you want to see, or if what I'm doing is stuff that you like, I would appreciate it more than anything. Go ahead and follow me on TikTok and Instagram to join the community of girlies, all working to become our own version of that girl. I love you guys so much, and I will see you guys in my next podcast episode. Bye.